for us, it works to set a high target, revenue target. And maybe some wonders why do you do it like that? And we actually set the target for 26 is the AR revenue should be 10% of the total revenue.
Welcome to the Voice of Visma podcast, where we sit down with the business builders, entrepreneurs and innovators across Visma, adding their perspectives on how they scale companies, reshape industries and create real customer value across markets.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Voice of Visma. My name is Alicia Hollos and I'm today's host. And one of the companies that I'm lucky to be part of a board of is Tripletex. They are here today with Hege Oustad. And I'm so happy to have you here in the studio. You're going to tell us about the journey. You started when the Tripletex was 0 and now you are market leader with 170,000 customers. What an amazing journey. Welcome, Hege.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great to have you here, but of course I want to get to know you a bit, so I would love to have like a short introduction to who you are.
Yes. Yeah, as you said, I'm Hege. I'm the managing director of Tripletex. And actually, I've been that for many years now, since 2009. My background has nothing to do with the accounting. I'm a chemist from the technical studies in Trondheim, in Norway. So my direction went a bit differently than planned. So here I am in Tripletex and in Visma.
Ah, that's great. And then very curious to kind of hear the Tripletex story. How was it born? What was the original idea? What we're trying to solve? Can you tell us a bit about that from the very beginning?
Yes, actually it started in Trondheim as students. We met four people, 2 girls then and 2 boys as students in Trondheim. And actually the idea was pitched from the father of one of the founders. He actually ordered a system for invoicing projects. So at that time he said he could not find anything cloud-based and how difficult can it be? And the challenge was taken by especially one of the founders and he started actually to develop this system then. At that time we were about like end 90s, 97, 8 started to code and along with the other founder, 2 developers. So that was really the beginning and it turned out to be quite wise to answer his request. And later on he of course was also participating in testing and using the system.
Yeah, so started as a project management invoicing tool and developed to accounting software. How was that kind of path of shifting the focus?
Yeah, of course along the road the customer base was actually mostly friends and family. But also the needs from the customers, but also our own needs show that, you're invoicing, how this should be possible to do a sort of a automatic bookkeeping. So how difficult can it be to make an accounting system? And the 2 developers actually started to check it out and together with one accountant, really actually made accounting in Tripletex as a module together with the project and invoice module. So, and that was, I still remember it, that in 2003 I was then a consultant for Tripletex at that time, doing research, marketing research, to find out, are there any competitors? Also, we were discussing to make a payroll system and everyone thought, of course, this is a good idea, at least those who were close to Tripletex and knew us well. And but again, it was stated that we have no competitors in this field, so there are no one to find. And as my experience told me that there are always competitors, so I had to check this really carefully because I really didn't believe it. But it turned out to be right, actually. At that time, it was no one offering a full suite with invoicing based on projects, accounting and payroll. It was more like integrated systems.
Has there been anything over the past 16 years that has kind of impacted or shifted the focus, important milestones that has been challenging during this path that you could share?
Yeah, of course it has been, and I already talked about some of the important milestones and choices we did. But of course, I started in 2009. Customer base was like getting a bit bigger, but still we had to really shape it up and move a bit quicker. And at that time, I remember we made a decision also to approach the AOs, because the system was only then in the beginning for end user actually. And I think we just made that decision during a lunch break, we go for the AOs, and then we did it. But of course that was a bit more, that was quite a bit longer process, because there was a lot of skepticism towards the total automation of accounting and how they saw Tripletex was what we were delivering at that time. So we had to work really hard to convince the AOs, the accountants out there, that this is really a safe and good system also for you as an accountant together with the customer. So this working like in a cooperation.
Yeah, but that must also be challenging because you also pure cloud company, yes. Cloud accounting, and that was not kind of the normal players in the market. How was that perceived by the accounting offices?
Yeah, that was like we found some friends, of course, some ambassadors, and it has to be said that our best ambassadors in the beginning was the auditors. So they were really cheering for us and saw the usability and the possibilities then going on. So but it didn't help, of course, that was few competitors and some competitors which are more in a family now, yeah. also telling a different story, of course. So we had to also fight against the really big ones like Visma to convince that this was really a smart move for also an accounting to move to the cloud. I think it was good that we cooperated with the accountants who were like thinking a bit differently, and we ourselves were also not accountants. So in that way, we started to establish like a really good platform for the end user and their need to be covered first. And the accountants we worked with said that stick to that plan and keep it up, because they are the ones we want to embrace and take into our customer base. So that was a lot of of course, the more modern AOs thinking forward.
But also, one thing is then trying to meet the needs of the accounting offices, but you're also meeting the needs of a lot of different types of customers, both in different sectors, but also size of the companies. I mean, 170,000 customers, that's a lot. How are you able to still develop features that the customers are happy with and still staying core to what you are really, really wanting to deliver, so the quality is good enough?
Yeah, that's the tricky part, of course, because when you expand, in the beginning we had the project customers, we had the smallest customer, but then you expand into several industries and listen to the customers, of course, but also not too much, because it's very easy to say, I want this or that or a button or something, and then we saw it went a bit wrong if we did too much of the listening. And so we have to be ahead all the time to like find out what we think this customer group really needs, and of course now with AI it has to be said that it's going to be a bit easier for us, at least because we can now make it even more user friendly within the different modules, and we can see already the results of this now.
Oh, that's great to hear. But then I'm very curious on how you're working with AI in Tripletex. It's been changing the way of working for employees, but also the way we are looking at our product and what we want to create value for our customers. Can you tell us about your strategy in Tripletex about?
Yeah. We, of course, we have been early adopters in a way. In the beginning, early with assistant doing support, now handling more than 70% of all the tickets. And of course, this when the ChatGPT came, the very first one, we were straight ahead onto this, and that was really gave us a good experience, an advantage. And also we started off with voucher automation in the system from a sister company, Visma, Fabric AI, which was also very early already in 2018. And this gave us also quite some experience. But then, it's a first wave. And then what's next? An assistant giving you more insight, and also an assistant that can do actions for you. That's like now in the roadmap and already out there. So that's like one part. The product. It's very, very important for us to like continue to implement AI in the product. And we maybe it sounds a bit too easy, but for us it works to set a high target, revenue target. And maybe some wonders why do you do it like that? And we actually set the target for 26 is the AR revenue should be 10% of the total revenue. So I mean that's quite ambitious target, and I hope we are going to get there. But at least we have to get quite close and to bring more AI functionality into the product that gives us really a value that we can like look to and really see that we bring something out to the customers that they're really willing to pay for.
In such a big organization, that there will be some employees that are a bit resistant and a bit kind of scared of the tool. How have you dealt with that?
Yeah, as a surprise, sometimes you expect that a certain group of people will just embrace it, but maybe they are the ones who are not embracing it as much. And then you have other people working, for example, sales reps, who are the first one to straight away actually code even with and I think it's very impressive that they're really going so quickly ahead with in a way, not only to solve a challenge because they're curious and they want to learn and I think that has to be celebrated, and we are showing those kind of examples that it's actually possible for everyone.
But that brings me to the next question, or next thing I'm wondering about, and that's more of the leadership topic. How have you changed and developed your leadership skills?
Of course, when we turned into like 30 people, 50 people, then we were not only a company, but we were a real company. But to be honest, we were a company with a kind of a chaos, and it was a good chaos because that also was also the foundation for the culture, which we have been bringing along with us, trying to control the chaos, of course, but the chaos and the engagement and the still like the feeling of being in one big group and not too many rules, not too many restrictions. And actually that's when we became a part of Visma, at 50 people. So in a way, we came in with a bit of a chaos, I think. And I think some more people thought so too. And it was good timing because then we got some help, of course. And that was very valuable. But I also remember a year we had like 100 new employees in 1 year. Yeah, you remember too.
Yes, I remember. Growing 100 employees year over year. That's amazing. And it's quite fast.
Very fast.
A lot to handle. How did you handle it?
No, and that's actually when at that time the culture was really tested because it went so quickly, and it was you can call it growth pain, really, because we didn't have that much structure. We were happy people. It was engagement was great, but then you could feel a bit the pain that not everything was working. The communication was not good enough. So that was, and you have different management levels. The management needed to have more training. It was
more professional.
And experienced leaders, but also leaders growing with Tripletex. And that's when you see actually if you as a leader can grow with the company when you grow so quickly. So in a way, that kind of period was maybe the biggest test to see that shift up to like when you were taking in 100 new employees.
I'm also very curious because you said like you came into Visma at that same area where you are growing quite fast. How was it?
Because I don't think we knew exactly what to expect. So we thought that this is our way, is the normal way. So, but of course we knew we were entering into a bit bigger organization. But I have to say we were quite secured, and I was also really sure and thought and knew that we were being welcomed as Tripletex, and our task was to continue to be the same in a way. That was like the agreement, that you come in and you just do your things, as long as, of course you have to deliver in a proper way. And I think in that way we believed it, and that was also right. Of course, in when you look at the big picture, that was totally right. But of course, it's totally something different to then enter into such a big group of other companies also. When you really experience it, it's something different than when people are just telling you this is how it is, it's going to be. But then when you show up with your gang in a way, then that's of course gave us some surprises, which maybe we didn't expect then. So, but you have to be also accepting that you're coming into something bigger, and you have to be joining the ride in a way, because we chose for it. But then also to be a bit smart in that way, to understand that you're entering something you have to respect. That's also culture you're entering into. And it's not that only our culture is the best and the right one. So it was like finding this balance. So being a part of Visma really gives us the opportunity as Tripletex to be a part of the best SaaS network in the whole world.
How is it to still be part of Tripletex, and how do you keep yourself motivated to continue? Like I said, it's a new job every year, and it still is actually. We're still growing quite a lot, and it's affecting us differently every year. So I think it's the growth we are creating and the new possibilities we are able to roll out and experiment on. We are doing now different side experiments along Tripletex based on AI, thinking totally differently. I think those kind of things are very motivating, to be able to influence and to make things better in a way, both when it comes to product, but also a company evolving in a way now with all the exciting things happening out there. So that's my main motivation. But also, of course, why I'm still here, it's because I'm so lucky to be able to then work not only with Tripletex colleagues, but with Visma colleagues, peers, to talk to whenever I want to, and a great network in a way supporting us. Last and very important motivation is the people in Tripletex, of course. Coming every day to work with such a nice group of people, smart people, and just kind, and you just feel the same spirit and energy as a long time ago, actually. So that's why. I need to go back a bit to the Visma answer, because I'm part of the board, luckily, and I'm also very curious to hear your reflections of how do you feel the board is supporting you, and also how has the board changed in different phase of your growth journey as well? Could you tell us something about that?
Yeah, that's quite interesting actually, because we came in and we had a very small board actually. People who have done running companies, building companies themselves, so that was a big value to have this, in a way, protector or the one helping the way into Visma, and knowing a bit what can go wrong and what can go right, and a bit sharing and pushing, and but not pushing on the only pushing on the important stuff. So I think that was really crucial for us coming in. But then eventually we needed a bit more. I know next board in a way asked, don't you have a controller? No, do I need that? So yes, you need that. Okay, then we got that kind of help to find a really controller suitable for Tripletex. And this kind of input is of course very good and important. So that was a different kind of help. a bit more direct. You need this and that, and still sharing and helping us through in the system, but also with growing further then. And now, of course, later on, a very competent board with very many competent people, and I'm very, very happy for that. And now, of course, we are challenged in a different way, and that's in a really healthy way, like when it comes to, really detailed discussions around the roadmap and planning, what is important, what is not important, around the people. It's been very important discussions around like how do we grow further on with all the people? Is it too many, too few? These kind of discussions, of course, it's healthy to have when you are a growth company, like you're just like been used to running off and do all kinds of things, you know. So it's, I think the board composition has been quite healthy when it comes to the different phases we've been through. Yeah. And of course, but the most important thing, I think that's been throughout the whole period, that's the time for discussion in a board meeting, and not only reporting, but it's really really important discussions with not only me and the board, but my whole management team, and you really get then the feeling that you're all in this together in a way.
Time is going up, so I have one final question that I would love to hear reflection on. It's, of course, what type of advice would you give yourself back in when you started Tripletex journey? Would you have done something differently?
Yeah, then, of course, you need people, but I would not underestimate the need of developers in the beginning. So to invest all your money in the beginning into developers, I think it's more and more important also today. And the developers today are different than the ones when we started. So to think like really what kind of expertise do I need to really create this product?
To also help using AI, I would guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for telling your story and your journey and the Tripletex story. And to the listeners, thank you for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode, please continue for next or more episodes of The Voice of Visma, where we are connecting to founders and entrepreneurs in the Visma family. So listening, thank you.